You know, I was in a hearing last week, oversight hearing, and one of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle was kind of putting out this number of 10%, his estimate of the military was extremists, racists. I think, in my experience, you know, I'm still serving in the Marine Corps Reserves. That number is absurdly high. It wasn't based on any data. That would make about 250,000 members of the active force supposedly fitting within that category, which I think is a disparagement of our men and women in the military. I got a little heated in that hearing last week because I'm really tired of hearing about, you know, what supposedly is all the bad things about the members of the military, when I think it's some of the finest young men and women in America serving, volunteering to serve. Is that your experience? 10%, 1 in 10, 250,000 active duty forces are somehow extremists, racists? It's an absurd number, but it gets thrown around in the newspaper. And I'm trying to get the men and women like you who've served for decades to kind of give me your view. You know, Admiral, General, I know that's not the purpose of the hearing, but I think it's really important, particularly for the men and women that you're leading and that we have oversight of, to let them know that we don't think a huge majority of the force is extremists. Obviously, some of my Senate colleagues do, which is absurd. Can I get your view on that, Admiral?
Senator, let me go first on that. One, I am very confident that the number of extremists in my forces is zero. Let me explain why I say that. The department has made it clear for decades that we don't tolerate that. My forces are a little bit different. We have certainly done everything Secretary Austin has told us to do. He has made it very clear what the standards are, but it's reiterating a standard. Every person in my organization has to have a security clearance, for starters, right? And when you fill that form out, and I've been filling it out for 40 years, there is an extensive battery of questions designed to get after that very point. And then somebody goes and investigates you, and then they go talk to all your references, and then they go talk some more, hunting for that very thing. We don't care what the source of extremism was. Those date back to communism was actually what they were looking for when I first came in. And today they'll even go look at your social media. If you can't pass that bar, I don't even see you. And then on top of that, in my forces, we have a personnel reliability program for these. So you now have peer monitoring brought in and a number of other standards. So if there are any extremists in my organization, one, they hide it very well, and two, it's just a matter of time until I get to them.
So you're saying that you agree with me, these are some of the best men and women in America, and to be besmirched by the media or a senator 10% is ridiculous.
Sir, I will just explain what the standard is that we uphold. It is contrary to the Uniform Code of Military Justice. It is essential for good order and discipline, and my forces meet the highest standard of that DOD requires.
Great. General, your view on this? I know you have a lot of experience given your decades in the U.S. Army.
Thank you, Senator. So in my organization, a very similar organization to U.S. Strategic Command. So space, as we all understand and know, we've talked about it many times in terms of the classification or the security clearances that are required within my organization to be able to do the things we do in the space domain and terrestrially. And so we have the same rigor in terms of some of the questions that are asked during their security clearances in terms of getting them to the proper clearance level so they can perform their duties within my command. I would tell you right now that we have done everything that Secretary Austin has asked us to do in terms of training and awareness, but in my organization, I would say that number is zero. And we are very keen and aware of those types of activities or what would lead to those, and we understand that very well. And so in terms of years of experience, yes, I would tell you in the formations that I've had throughout my career, I have not seen that. So I believe it's close to zero in my organization, if not zero.
Thank you, but nothing nearing 10%. Ridiculous, in my view, but obviously you guys, you gentlemen would agree. Let me just ask one final question. Admiral, it's for you. As the North Koreans continue advancement of their weapon systems, what can we do? Are you concerned it's going to outpace our ability to defend the U.S. homeland? I'm talking about the GBI system And what can we do to accelerate development of the next generation interceptor? And does it make sense to have 20 empty silos right now at Fort Greely?
Senator, one, I think the nation has the right standard and policy when it comes to missile defense relative to rogue threats, with North Korea right now being the defining example of that. Obviously, that is something we may go review, but right now I would start off with I think that's the right pace. We will have to pace that threat. I certainly support Northern Command's requirements to be able to do so, and would look for the department understanding resource limitations and other mission sets that are in competition for us to maintain that standard in terms of our missile defenses.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.